Welcome, traveler. Today's video is all about your martial mastery, how to get it as high as possible so you can participate in online fights, and also keep upgrading your talent tree because it's gated behind martial mastery partially, and why martial mastery actually does not say how strong your character is. What is martial mastery for? It tells you if you're strong enough to do certain things. For example, for the level 56 boss to come, you should have at least 11,000 martial mastery, or you're going to be too weak to handle the challenge. Same goes for the Hero's Realm. If you're not at the 9,500, you should really not go into the gymning pool because you're only going to drag everyone else down. Hell, even if you're at 9,500, you're a liability. You need to get at least to 11,000 to have a certain amount of character power. Since your martial mastery actually does rise with your talent points. Considering you're putting into something that changes your character, like precision raid, life, defense, maximum minimum damage. If I now get another mystic skill slot, that does not increase my mastery. Which means if we go into a 10-man raid and I see you're a 9,500 mastery player, I already know you're weaker. Because you simply can't have put the point into max physical attack, which is gated behind the mastery. The same goes for min, the life, and also the bonus physical defense we get later on. The second thing that rises your martial mastery are your mystical skills. Right now we have Guardian Palm here, tier 2, fully upgraded, waiting for the breakthrough. I now change this out for the Yaksha Rush, not upgrade. You can see we're actually losing minus 95 martial mastery, and that does actually count for everything, not only for the damaging mystic arts. We, for example, have the Tai Chi here. I wouldn't consider it like the super damage mystic art. The same with the Cloud Steps. However, Cloud Step is fully upgraded. If I now swap this out for my level 1 or level something something Leaping Toad, here my level 1 Flaming Meteor, boom, we're again losing the 95 martial mastery. So they don't distinguish between like rarity of a mystic art or whatever. All mystic arts that are upgraded to a point give the same amount of martial mastery. Which means for reaching maximum, every single mystic art you have equipped needs to be tier 2 fully upgraded. And as soon as we break through to level 56, make sure to have all these super rare materials. As you can see, I don't actually have them to break them through further. You need 15 of those. If you then go over to the right side, there's the general tab. And I'm not sure if the touch of death influences martial prowess. So we're just going to reset this now to actually see. Nope, does not influence. However, you still want to have your touch of death all the way upgraded, otherwise you won't be able to execute people anymore, even though it does not give you martial power. Then let's go over to your inner ways, and here it gets a little bit weird. There are two things that influence the prowess. That is first the rarity, if it's a golden one, if we have a purple, or if we have a blue. For example, my 5-fold bleed is already at tier 3. Yep, it's 3 times broken through. And my adaptive steel is only 2 times broken through, giving me max bell strike attack. That's amazing. Whereas this one also gives me max physical attack, so it's quite fantastic. If I now change the adaptive steel over to the 5-fold bleed, I will actually lose martial prowess because it is not a purple rarity skill. That's kind of stupid because obviously the 5-fold bleed is stronger and better for the build I'm playing than the adaptive steel. However, the steel will give me more martial mastery to look cooler. And if I obviously now had something like the Sword Horizon broken through 2 times, that would give me the maximum amount of martial mastery. So for the highest number in bragging rights possible, you should try to get, well, the most golden upgraded skills that kind of fit your build, which doesn't really work because not all of them actually do fit your build. And before you ask now, Pony, what about the tips exchange? That one resets every season, I assume. It says a total stock of 600, and yes, we have depleted this by getting tons of book tokens with recycling our old Shiznit that we don't need, and then turning that old Shiznit that we don't need into our Bell Strike boxes, and hoping that we get the ones that we're looking for. That's pretty much how you're making sure to get your inner ways up slow but steady. And it definitely does work. I mean, all of mine are at least broken through once, and we're working on the second, if not actually the third and fourth breakthrough. I did actually get my Shadow Assault up to 3rd, and now it says after successful ambush, there's a high chance to obtain loot from the target, and I can't wait to use that. Next up, we got your martial arts level. So for the weapons you want to use, you obviously want to have them broken through and upgraded as far as you can. Anyways, for maximum damage, because why would you want to do less damage? Then over on the gear side, we have the enhancement. If you don't have your enhancement maxed out, you're going to be bleeding martial prowess like crazy. And below the enhance, we also have the arsenal where your old gear, your level 41 gear, 51 gear, 56 gear, 61 gear will be stored in with ever higher total mastery needs. I think the level 51 arsenal needs 850. This is where your old gear goes in, and then it gives you min bell strike, max bell strike attack, or whatever you choose over here. If I go for stone split right now, I would lose martial mastery because I don't really do stone split. I do some silk bind, so that gives me mastery back up again. If I go for general, which technically makes me stronger than bell strike because it's min and max physical attack, which should work for both, for the silk bind and for the bell strike. However, the bell strike just gives me more mastery, so assumingly makes me stronger. Good. Now let's look at our gear. You do obviously want to have it 4 times tuned, but as you tune it, the outcome is random. So you might not always get something that helps. For example, my helmet has min bamboo cut attack. And that min bamboo cut attack does obviously not give me prow as much as max bell strike attack. Or on my chest piece, we have min physical attack and max bell strike. That's crazy. Also, hitting set bonuses does help. However, the flat set bonuses help the most. So I got here precision rate and affinity rate like crit rate. That will directly increase my player power. The actual set bonus down here is useful, but it doesn't have that much influence on the actual player power. What we're really looking for is to get lucky in our rolls with a max physical, min physical, and to not get something that's useless. For example, my 5th upgrade gave me strategic sword boost. What is the 5th upgrade? That's when an item has 4 stats, like my chest piece, that are all good, apart from the max bamboo cut. Then as you go for tune, you can choose one of the passes here. And I do play Bell Strike. And then you get to use your attunement stones. These attunement stones are gained from the raid. Now I got Heaven Quaker Spear, that's useless. However, it still gave me mastery, which is weird, right? But it gave me mastery because I 5 times upgraded an item. Regardless if that item is useful or not useful for my build, it's 5 times upgraded, which will also increase the mastery of these pieces, right? For the arsenal later on. Congratulations. However, this does not really say my character just got stronger. What you definitely want to make sure as you're upgrading pieces is to use the super guaranteed stats. I have, for example, my Snow Shield Umbrella, and I also have my Frostbane Bracers here. Both of these would give me a guaranteed golden attribute and a purple attribute. If you have these in your inventory, make sure to use them for your 51 gear, because you can't use them for your 56 gear or for your 61 gear. So if I finally get another sword that is actually, instead of the Hawking set, the Wail of the Willow set, then I will guaranteed make sure to, as I tune said sword, to go for the guaranteed golden upgrade and the guaranteed purple upgrade on top, because that's actually huge, right? I mean, I could, best case scenario, put 2 purples and 1 golden on it, guaranteed. Lastly, there's one system that we haven't mentioned, and those are your both Odditie Vendors in the first region and in Kaifeng. Yes, they do actually increase your martial prowess too. Not all of the things they give you though. At the Odditie Vendor, everything that again changes your character's stats. What we're talking about is not max vitality. That doesn't work. Max endurance also not. However, max physical attack, physical defense, more HP, that's all martial mastery. Getting damage reduction versus monsters in the first region or getting bonus damage versus monsters in the first region, does not increase. But again, the defense, the life, the damage, right? As you go through, there's a lot of this, and each step is again more martial mastery. And that works on both of these because yes, we got 2 of those vendors. Now, if you go into your talent tree and you look at arena and boss, these 2 do not have any influence on it because they're for the online mode and they don't actually personally inflict your player strength because they only work in certain modes, right? They make you do more damage versus a boss and they make you have more crit in PvP. No influence. What does this mean now? Should I try to push this number as high as possible? No, absolutely not. Naturally, it will rise with the things that make sense. Get your enhance up, get your arsenal up. That makes sense. Try to have good equipment. Max out your talents. Yes, obviously. However, am I now going to equip adaptive steel only because it is upgraded or gives me more martial mastery than if I use the fivefold bleed? Absolutely not, because the fivefold bleed is actually better for my build, despite giving me minus 55 mastery, because it is blue. That's weird, but it's just way more useful. And I might just lose something in my number. Who cares? I still have amazing damage, even more than with the other one. That being said, you should still get the mastery up because it is an indicator on how strong you are or how capable you are, how many systems you have upgraded that you're then not useless and dead weight in respective rates, right? And if you do not have the 9.5, or even for the 56, the 11.5, then you're most likely just going to slow everything down for everyone. By the way, the raids are also the source of the attunement stones, where you guaranteed get an attunement stone per week because you can only do each fight once per week for rewards. In the sword trials, there is a chance for them to drop, either doing the joint battle outpost challenge or doing the formless mountain pass here, whatever you're doing, forging, coal mass, right? All of these, they have a probability from a certain level onwards. I think it's going to be 51 for the attunement stones. I think when the 41, like the one before, also had a chance for the attunement stones. Keep in mind that energy replenishes at 1 every 9 minutes, which is 160 energy per day. And you can actually do one of these fights and then claim double up to triple rewards as soon as we break through to 7. So if you're at 500 energy, make sure to deplete 160 per day because you're going to be back to 500 at the end of the day. Don't actually waste your energy by not doing this. Any questions left, ladies and gentlemen, ask them in the comments below, and now go and watch this video. It will help you tons.